forum? Is this what we're...
Well, we'll call it a town hall meeting.
And I know one of the things, I'm Roger Waller and the President of the Academic Senate, and they just asked me to do the brief lead-in and then to go to the star. It's like Ed McMahon, I think, on the show. But one of the things, one of the questions that was asked of all the presidential candidates was, what would you do in your first 100 days? And so it's just, I think, coincidental that this is going to be done in, I guess, Dr. Gould's 93rd day, which will give him a week to get everything wrapped up that he'd committed to do in the first 100 days. But we talk usually about format and how this would be done and how to do it. And we talked with John White, and he indicated, as you can see, we have 2 microphones down here in front. But John teaches class in here, and he says, usually he can hear the students really well, so that if you have a question, and I think Tina's on lights, and Tina, maybe you can raise the lights a little bit so we can see the audience a little bit better out there, because we have all these lights on us that's going to be here for this weekend's performances of The Boyfriend, which premieres, I think it opens Friday night, so those of you who haven't gotten your tickets, I don't know if tickets are available, but you should come down and check on coming to see The Boyfriend put on by Delta Drama. But the idea is that just raise your hand and Ed will call on you and ask a question, because it's really designed to be an open forum where you ask questions that are on your mind about Delta College. If it turns out that we do need the sound, Sarah's on sound, and we can go down, and I'll go down and get some mics, and we can get you a mic to ask your questions and, you know, this kind of stuff, just to make you feel as comfortable as possible. And I don't know, any other guidelines that we have?
Well, I know Jim's recording that. Jim, will you be able to pick up questions if they are not on the mic?
Yeah, it should pick them up from the front mic.
Okay, then we're fine.
Yeah.
So we should be okay, and I guess with that sort of, you know, introduction, I'll turn it over to Ed Gould on day number 93, I guess it is at this point in time. So,
yeah, we're going to start a new precedent. Instead of the 100th day summary, it's going to be the 93rd day summary for all presidents. Let me start this out by saying, I'm glad he mentioned what we said. I don't remember what I said to you in the first, in that interview. I better call the other people, see if they did. But I think I said something like this, that I would get to know you as individuals and as much as I could, and get to know the campus and what it stood for. And I think I said that I'd get to know the community, probably the players in the community. And I believe I said I would probably assess the staff around me. Knowing me, I get real bold in those moments. And then I said something probably about the campus climate and culture in the first 100 days. If I didn't say those things, I'll send someone back to look at the tape and see what I really did say. But knowing me, that I probably did look at those things. And this is part of that process of getting to know you and getting to know your issues that I think is very important. I call it a town hall meeting. And one of the things that Roger said about being the star, I need to say to you, I really firmly believe that my role is only one single role in allowing students to get the best education possible, that it's not a role of the star. It may be the role of the band leader or the orchestra director, but it is a role. And without the players and without you, the educational quality that the students receive, I can't do it by myself, that I can only do it with all of your cooperation and everyone who works in this institution, and frankly, the help that we get from the state and the legislature and the governor for what we do. So I don't see myself as a star. In fact, I see myself doing the job. I happen to love my job, but doing a job in order to help students learn. Let me also, there are 2 quotes, you know, that I like quotes. I think that's becoming pretty obvious, and now I'm getting all of your quotes that you like, and that's making my collection much greater, but I get them from board members and from staff and faculty, and it is making my quote treasury much broader, and I really do appreciate it. But there's one that I particularly like about that. There's no limit to the good man can do if he doesn't care who gets the credit. And I'm a firm believer that credit goes to all of us who help students learn. And even more importantly, Robert Half said, people who look down upon other people don't end up being looked up to. And I have to tell you how much I personally ascribe to that point of view, that there's no gain in looking down, but there's only gain for me as an individual if we look at each other as equals. I've also learned in the wisdom of, you also probably know that I particularly like Texas Bix Bender. He's a folk hero to me, and he writes in everything that if I would write the way that he writes, I wouldn't be here today because I would have failed all my English classes. But he does say some great things from a philosophical point of view. And one of the things he says is if you're riding ahead of the herd, take a look back every now and then to make sure it's still there. And I want to make sure that you're still there, and that's one of the reasons I'm here today. So this is broken into two parts today. The first one, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think has happened in 100 days, and then the second part is for you to ask me questions, make comments, suggestions. I also don't think that we're perfect. I believe that we only can get better from being in a good place. But I want to start out by saying what I've learned in my first 100 days. I've learned that this institution has and offers its students the best quality of education that I've been able to experience in my now 22 years in higher education and community colleges. And I could say that unabashedly, and I've been in the classrooms to see the great teaching. I've participated as much as I can in some of the activities to also say that what we do extracurricularly or for the activities outside the classroom to support the learning process are as exciting and amongst the best that I've seen. And in addition to that, what our facilities have done to bring in outside groups to even enrich what we do further. Not only what we do, but what students get to participate in activities such as what we'll have here in a few weeks with the African American Educational Summit, the Latino Leadership Conference. We've brought in several groups of students, whether they be a music group or the ag group statewide, to not only use our facilities, but to enrich the lives of students. Our students simply get a great education at Delta College, and we have nothing to apologize to, and no one, frankly, to look up to. But hopefully we can lift all together. Let me tell you a couple of things that I think have happened that I feel best about. And I think at the top of the list is if the board approves the CSEA contract negotiation, we will have completed and fulfilled the negotiations of not just 2 bargaining units, 3 including the police officers, but also actually 2 contracts with CSEA. But we will move right into a next level contract because we haven't finished our work, but we have at least agreed to be agreeable and move forward at this time. And I think that all of you who have been part of that for the last, and more time than I want to comment on, know the feeling that you've all gone through. We have now got to a place and we go forward from here, but it's assuming that the board, and it's always tough for any president to assume what their board's going to do, but if the board does approve that, we go back to work as soon as we can tomorrow to look at the issues that are still remaining to resolve with our classified staff, particularly as it relates to the classification study and some of the other issues that have not been resolved. And the spirit of that discussion that your leadership that had with our representatives at the table has been outstanding. So I'm very pleased that we've been able to settle the contracts of the institution. I said in this last week's Keeping in Touch email, you have motivated me to continue to do that. I didn't have in mind doing a weekly email when I started out, but the feedback has been so powerful, not only to me, but to the board and to your leadership and to many others, that has now become the priority of my work week, to make sure that we can communicate everything to everybody all of the time. And so that has now become, as one of the responders this week said, an institution already in the institution. And my commitment is when I am on campus, that I'll make that email my priority to at least communicate what I know about the institution. Many times you'll know a lot more than I will about what's really going on. So I hope in return to trying to keep you informed that you will keep me informed of things that I need to know about. And so many of you are doing that. One person asked, how do I know all these people are doing all these good things? I don't know without you telling me. It's your feedback and your caring about one another and what you do that tells me what's going on in the institution. Every once in a while, I get to catch, but your emails back to me help me catch people doing good and the right thing. So it comes from the fact that you care about one another, and I care about you, and I'm getting that type of feedback. So that's how I know about all the things that are going on the campus. So if there's somebody you want to recognize, feel free to email me, and we will find a way to get that into the Keeping in Touch article. Since I've been here, I've met with all constituent group leaders and the governing bodies of all of your organizations. I've met with each member of the administrative staff, with managers and supervisors individually. I've looked forward to my time and have spent much time with the leadership of the community in the San Joaquin Business Council, the Chamber of Commerce, with Kaiser, and with many of the leadership groups in the community. I've been in the community. I'm learning what they think of your institution. I could tell you what they think. They think that you're an outstanding institution. In fact, they think you're the jewel of the city. And as I was just saying to Roger, one of the primary movers of our community after I left a reception they had in my honor said, we just don't know what we can do for you. Just let us know, and we'll be glad to help. They think so much of you and what you do for students that they're willing to not only give personally, but do whatever they can to help this institution become better. And you will hear in the future we'll be really working on those types of not taking advantage, but working with them in a partnership to provide the best quality of education that we can for the students and the workers that they care so much about. I've welcomed over seven different groups of varying types to the campus. I found that a little bit awkward every time because I'm new enough myself to find that oftentimes I can't find where they're meeting in order to welcome them. And I've visited now 8 advisory committees. I'm impressed with the amount of commitment that our advisory committees have to helping our faculty provide the best quality of programs. I could tell you I can't contribute much there. They're so engaged that it's a very positive experience for me to witness their involvement. I've clearly delineated my expectations of those who work and report to me and of the administration and the management of what we're trying to create collectively in terms of a climate and a culture of working together towards the educational success. We've used a collaborative approach to reviewing the issue between fine arts and social science that I walked into, and the recommendation of the Academic Senate and that Matt Wetstein came back to us, and I think that we've implemented what seems to not only be the collective wisdom, but what will work from an academic point of view for the institution, and have separated fine arts and social science again. And I hope that that stands for how I will listen to the campus. Will it always come out like that? Maybe not, but I hope that I at least listen to that degree every time, and I sure appreciate the hard work that was done to allow me to have the best possible information to make that decision. I think I've sought the advice of your leadership on every issue, at least every issue that would be have the slightest contention about it. And I hope that I've listened well. Only you can be the judge of that, and your leaders can tell you, but I certainly have made that effort. And if I haven't, I hope that you tell me what I can do to show signs of that, of doing even better. Have I always agreed? No. I never walked into this thinking that we'd agree on everything, that there will be disagreements between leadership and the board and myself and leadership. And then ultimately, I say this to my staff, and I don't mean it to be autocratic, but in case of ties, the board, when I tie with the board wins. When the leadership ties with me, I usually win. You know, it kind of works that way in the pyramidal world. And so when there are ties, I'll go forward with my recommendation of what I think is best for the institution. It may not be in agreement with anyone else, but I don't shy away from doing what I think is the right thing. But to do that, I want to hear first, and I've always said that I could be persuaded by other people, and I think that I've shown some signs of that already. I continue to work with the community. I think it's very important that we work. Yesterday I was in a meeting with Hazel Hill and talked to the fire leadership in Stockton, and they want us to put $1 million into a tower, not understanding how we're financed. What we worked out is how we're going to partner in the future so that we can move into those types of relationships where we could collectively use our influence to hopefully get the city and others to build those type of towers. And so if I wasn't there, we wouldn't have been working in those areas. The leadership on campus set that up well for me, so I could walk in and say, no, we can't give you $1 million, but we can look at how we can use our collective influence in order to get what we both need in order to provide the education so that the fire technologists in this area are both well-trained and certainly safe when they go about their job. And that's the issue, is that we have no effective training facilities within our county region in our area, and they want to be effective, and we certainly want to have a very high-quality fire science program. I've made 8 public speeches since I've been here, and I've made 2 to statewide organizations. I like the opportunity to express my point of view, even if nobody else listens but myself, but I do like that opportunity and will continue to do that. I've written 2 letters and articles for some of the publications locally. I will continue to do that where I think I can offer something, and I won't get in areas where I don't think I have any expertise. And that's most areas. They've asked me in a few areas where I can make a contribution. Tonight at the board meeting, I'll begin presenting my first of what will probably become a lot of restructuring issues, and it's starting around the office staff that reports to me. And I'm doing that, the timing of that, somebody's asked me, well, why are you doing that now? I'm doing that because my office goes through a major change in about 6 weeks when Marlene retires, and I'm left with already 1 unfilled position, and that will leave me 2. And Fran is saying, Dr. Gould, Ed, you better do something because I'm not going to do this all by myself. And so I'm taking forward my recommendation tonight. Will it be uncontested? By no means do I expect that from the board or for the group. And you also need to know something about me, is that I think it's okay to disagree here. I don't have any problem with you disagreeing. I don't hold it personally, and I know it's not meant that way. And so I hope that we use our public forums to express our points of view, and then when the board is elected to make those type of decisions, and if I can't be persuasive with them, then they'll have to ultimately look at and see if I'm doing the right thing from their point of view, but I certainly want that opinion to be shared with them so they can make the best possible decision with all the input. Finally, and most importantly, I've attended 3 classrooms and several events on this campus. I could tell you that the teaching that I see is just incredibly moving. The students that I've talked to are really pleased with the instruction. Today, I had my student town hall meeting. The questions were what I expected. Students have the tendency to be more here in the now than they are in the future, and most of the questions were immediate gratification types of questions. I'm not sure I was able to answer all of them well, but I did appreciate their candidness and their openness, and I hope that I at least pointed them in the right direction when I couldn't answer their questions. So again, what we have is an excellent institution, quality instruction, wonderful opportunity, and a family that cares about one another in a way that few others experience, and you should be commended for that. But what about the future? And the future is where we're really going. The first 100 days is often considered the honeymoon. And what happens when the honeymoon's over? So let me tell you what I think is going to happen. We have a master planning process, but we need to move that into a collaborative strategic planning process that tells us not only where we're going to go, but how we collectively involve all of you and the community in our direction. Our facilities plan is outstanding, but it needs to be driven by a very exceptional educational and student services plan as well. And so we need to boost that end of the planning process up just a little bit. I'm also going to look at staff, faculty, and administrative development. I find it interesting that business invests up to 20% of their profit in staff development for theirs, and we don't even invest 0.2% of our monies in your staff development or the faculty development or administrative development. And here we are, the educational body, where we should be investing all of our energy in improving our ability to teach and our ability, obviously, to learn, and we invest the least. And so I'll be looking at how we do staff development. I pushed this agenda at the state level for the last 10 years. I'm not going to change that agenda now, that if you don't have the best quality of tools and that you aren't aware of how to do your job the best, then we can't do it well. And so we'll be continuing to push that agenda, and we'll be looking at how we can do that locally. You will see, I want that to stay with the constituent groups in the planning process for faculty and staff development. I will certainly push the administration into some directions. Some of those are going to be on team development skills, and they're going to be on those processes that help us continuously look at ways that we can improve what we do. It's not saying that the administration's not doing their job. They're doing it, but we need to do it in a collective and collaborative process that is focused around team development and doing things best. I'm also going to look at, and I'll tell you what, sometimes directing a board in the right direction is like herding cats. But one of the things I want to do at the board level is get them involved in strategic discussions about what we need to talk about. And some of those issues are going to be aimed at what are we going to do about African American males and the dropout rate in San Joaquin County? And how can we help that problem? And I want to get at that level of discussion at the board meeting with the board, so we have some policy directions in that arena. I want them to talk about and know about distance learning and its impact on students. I want them to know about and talk about learning style differences for students and how we can impact and reach more students. I want them to know about the training opportunities or the number of businesses that are failing because they can't afford to send their people to the right training activities. And I want them to know about those issues that we might have in our public safety professions in the area that we can help improve on. I want them to discuss those openly and how we can address those issues of improving what we can do for our community. I want them to attack the issues of what is a well-rounded human being in today's world. How do we infuse the cultural arts into their livelihood in this day and age where the world moves by so fast that we hardly have a time to even say hello to each other each day? Those are the issues that I think the board needs to address, instead of what is oftentimes the mundane business that boards often get into. So you will see as I talk to them about goals and objectives that I'll have some goals and objectives for them as well, so that they can take us forward to meet the student needs not only now but in the future as well. We'll also be planning to meet new growth rates. The budget that we are likely to see this year can be the best that we've ever experienced. It certainly has the ingredients to be one of the best right now. But one of the things that I think is going to happen is that we'll have a 4% growth rate. And in order for us to take advantage of the money that could be available to our institution, we have to plan effectively to meet those growth challenges. And so we'll be looking at those issues. And I also will be talking with staff about the issues of Partnership for Excellence. Being one of the movers behind that in my past life, and certainly having to carry it out at the state level, I'm committed to the purposes of Partnership for Excellence to improve the success of students in all those 5 categories and whatever new categories are coming forward in the future. And I will make sure, and I have already talked with the budget committee about this, that the direction we use in Partnership for Excellence money will be aimed in that direction in the future. I also have to tell you that I'll continue to run an organization that will have the type of budget and budget reserves that allow us to be an effective organization today and also tomorrow. And so that means to be always being attentive not only to balancing the budget, but to making sure that the reserves are such that if some emergency were to happen down the road, that we don't have to fold and close our doors and close our programs in crisis. And so that I will continue to use a fiscal conservative approach to making sure that we have a balanced budget for the future. In fact, that's one of the things that attracted me here, is because we are thinking about the future in that policy. I'll be looking and spending a lot of time in the issues of raising funds for the institution. I think that our area is ripe for effective and well-developed and well-planned fundraising. So I'm looking for a resource development office. But I won't do that outside of the process of entitlements. So I'll be looking within the organization for positions that can be freed up in the short run and entitlements over the long run to do that. So until I find those positions, I won't be making any requests, because I wasn't here during the time that entitlement process took place, so I couldn't make the request then. I do know that it's a priority for the board. It's certainly my priority, but I don't want to do it outside of the process. And so that's the magic of doing this well. I've met with the K-12, the superintendents of the districts, and I know that we have a lot of work to do to partner in articulation better, and I'll be driving that agenda through Dr. Laughlin and the deans and the department chairpersons, not to tell K-12 how to do their business, but to partner with them to help that all of us have standards of education that allow each of us to do our job better. I, like most of you, wish we didn't have to spend resources on remedial education. But if we don't do it, who is going to do it? And until K-12 gets to that point, we can't expect society to educate students who, for whatever reason, didn't get it the first time around or are new to our state and to our country to get that. So until we're ready for that, we will be involved in developmental education and in improving those students. We also will, Dr. Cooper's office he's in the development of the planning stages to make this a quality institutional research. I'm a believer in data-based decision making, that oftentimes our opinions aren't as good as fact, and his office will provide not only me but all of you with information that will allow you to make your decisions better as well. We will celebrate staff better. One of the things that I really believe in is that all of you feel good about your jobs, but I also feel about new people coming into our institution. It's interesting when you come in as a new president. The expectation of the board and everyone else is that I know everything that I should know about my job. I don't even know how to unlock the door. And I know that a lot of other people are like that. And certainly to this day, I probably know the campus fairly well, but I still check the map to make sure I'm going to Cunningham and not Holt. I need to know where Locke is. Sometimes it's right outside my door. And what we need to do is make sure that everyone else has it. This is one thing we don't do well, is we don't direct our students around the campus very well, and certainly our visitors, and we need to improve that on campus. But we do need to also welcome our people better, and I have some thoughts and ideas that I'll share with the Human Resources Department and your leadership in those lights. And then the other thing that we will do different is that I will spend a lot of time influencing the state legislature, the governor, the chancellor's office on community college legislation and budgets. I think that one of the things that I felt has been lacking in the state of California is the local CEOs and boards being involved in changing the direction in the state in terms of how we fund community college education, and I will take a very active role in ensuring particularly our high-cost programs like nursing and microscopy and some of those programs that are very necessary have the type of resources they need to do their jobs well without taking from everyone else. And finally, I am committed to having fun. When this stops being fun, I don't want to do it anymore. It has been wonderfully fun. I hope that I can instill fun in each one of your jobs if you don't have it at this point in time. And with that, that concludes where we are, where we're going, and now I want to open it up to your questions. Mary.
Still going to have fun after we beat you at softball?
I will have fun whether or not you beat us at softball. And I hope that everyone has fun participating as well. So, yeah, other question? Any other questions? Yes. If I don't know your name, it's because I haven't learned it yet, and I apologize for that. I will.
I'd like to address the suggested reclassification request for the confidential classified employees in your office. It's going to be presented at tonight's board meeting. Along with other classified people, we in the purchasing department has been an effort to rectify our positions that have been updated since 1976, has submitted for reclassification 4 times in the last 5 years. The last time we submitted one, we were told that the committee, which was in August of '99, we were told that the committee would not entertain a request for reclass until a resolution to the compensation study was determined. Now, your conclusions for endorsing this reclassification in your office are some of the same conclusions that we stated in our reclassification request 4 times over. And that's not taking into consideration the Oracle financial system that's come to Delta, and we in purchasing have assumed the role per se of Oracle training or trainers for the end users on campus. If the classified employee population has been told that we have to wait until the completion of the compensation study before any reclassification request would be considered, then why is the reclassification request for your classified employees going forward? I don't understand that, or we don't understand the fairness in that.
Well, let me first of all respond, both about fairness and about, I'm not going to take responsibility of what happened in 1999. I wasn't here. And I've said that to everybody time and time again. And so I'm not going to take it now. So if you need to go to the 5th request, then you're going to have to go there. But it may be treated differently the 5th time you go. Secondly, the people in my office aren't represented by any group. They are unrepresented in terms of classification. So your classification study doesn't bear on their livelihood and their lives. And the other reason is that I have to do it now, or it isn't going to happen in order for my office to move forward. Would I like to do it that way? No. No, I'd like it all to go forward together, but that isn't how our world works in the collective bargaining arena. And since that's a collective bargaining issue for represented employees, I can't move it forward at this point in time until we resolve those issues. But I don't have any problem making sure that we look at that in the future. I also don't have any problem doing what's right for other groups of employees that may be unrepresented in this process. And if we are underpaying a group of people to get the job done right, then I think that's unfair. And I feel that way about everyone. I hope that that's been noticed in trying to resolve these issues and wipe some of those things in the past. So I don't apologize for what I'm doing. I know that those arguments are similar to yours, but again, I wasn't here in '99, and I'm not going to take any responsibility for the way that they were responded to at that time.
Well, who would represent and go forward before the board for the other confidential classified employees then on campus? The ones that don't work in your office?
I would do that as well.
So then basically we have to rely upon the union to represent us, whereas it seems like it's better to be unrepresented and action progresses faster, gets taken sooner than being represented.
Well, let me respond. I didn't create the issue of your reclassification study. That was done here before my time. I don't like reclassification studies. They never make anybody happy. In fact, they only create animosity on campuses. What I like is to train people in reclassification methodology within the institution, and we do our own reclassification. But I've never liked outside studies. But I didn't make that decision. And I didn't put it on the table. Okay? It's on the table. And so I'm not going to be responsible for those decisions made in the past. Now, if we can get to the point where we can trust one another enough to learn the methodology and be fair to one another, then we'll be fine. But reclassification studies, I've done 4. I haven't been happy with the results of any of those 4. And more importantly, the campus is usually in unrest rather than We go into reclassification study to settle the unrest, and what we come out of is more unrest. So why do we do it?
Well, my one last question is, one of the reasons why it was tabled was the district didn't have funds, but yet where are the funds coming from for this?
Well, I think it's in the study is that this is 6% more than my predecessor had 2 years ago in the office. Okay. We're not talking about a lot of additional funds, particularly when we're talking 3-4 individuals, not the 700 individuals that we would be talking about campus-wide in the other studies. So we're not talking lots of money about that. But understand, we've also had a vacancy for now over 7 months in my office that I have not filled, and purposely so until we had these things worked out in terms of what we would do. Has that been easy on the people in my office? No, it has not been. And it's not the right way to do it, but I wanted to make sure that we did things right rather than have to do them over again in doing that. So where's the money coming from? We've all paid in the office for that, and it's, again, 6% more than done before. I'm well aware of what's done before. I also, there's a couple things that you do need to know about me. There are times that I will claim presidential prerogative, and this is one of those. And that's what I was hired to do, to be a leader in getting the work done that needs to be done in our office. And so I don't apologize for taking the lead. I will listen to every group, and I will do that, but I also won't apologize for taking risks when they need to be taken. And in this case, and in my judgment and my experience, it's one that has to be done. Yeah.
We appreciate the opportunity to speak with you on these issues, and we hear what you're saying about the reclassification studies. And I know you realize that there is still a large amount of distrust with the administration, not your fault. But we do hear what you're saying about the reclassification study, and we will hold you to that when the time comes for negotiations. And we hope that during those negotiations, you will be directing your management force, who will be negotiating with our negotiators, to make a fair and equitable closure to the classification study. I know you've heard from the Senate and you've heard from CSEA, and it's a very difficult issue. I just want to make sure that you know that if you want to really build our trust and really bring the family back into our community college, you will address our reclassification study in a fair way. And to table on that, another way that you can build our trust, we mentioned the softball game that's coming up. Would you please support this by reminding the managers to, at whatever way they can do, allow their classified employees to attend these types of activities, professional development. We had our retreat recently, and we understand that there are some times that our classified members must remain back in an office to make sure that everything is running smoothly. But if our managers knew that you supported the classified employees attending functions like this, they would be more likely to allow those classified employees to go.
Well, let me respond to the second part of that first. I think the management knows that I do, and I will send out other reminders. They've been told at management meetings for the last 3 months that I believe in that. And they also know that they have to run their budget and their division in the way that both the public and the students need to have it run. And so I can't make their decisions on a day-to-day basis, but they know that I really believe in allowing everyone to participate in the governance processes, the activities of the institution wherever possible. But they are held accountable at the same time, and so I can't think for them. And I certainly don't want to make a decision for each one of them on who gets to go individually to those events, but I will put out another reminder that I support that. On the first one, let me talk a little bit about, I understand distrust, and I understand the distrust of an institution, but you have to understand that distrust goes 2 ways. That distrust isn't just a one-way issue. Trust is built by people working together to eliminate distrust. And the question, Marianne, came to me in the statement almost as if it was a challenge or you better do this or else. That's not how you do things in a trusting environment. You do it because you believe that we really do care about one another. I don't know anybody who is out to get any member of the classified staff. But trust has to be a 2-way issue. Trust isn't one way. And so right now I could also say that there are probably members of the administration and maybe some members of the board that may have distrust with what's going to be done in terms of openness and honesty on the other side as well. So if we're going to resolve the issue of trust, then we both have to be willing to come to the table with that in mind. I could commit my willingness to do that, but I can't commit anyone who represents one of the other units. You have to do that, and you have to push them in that direction, because trust does go both ways. And in a bargaining situation, it's about give and take. I think I said that when I was standing up here once before. It's not about just giving on the part of the district. It's a give and take relationship in bargaining, and both sides have to be willing to give and take, not just one, or it doesn't work. You don't have bargaining then. And so trust is really a two-way issue. And until we're ready to understand that, or behave as if we understand that, we won't get to trust. It is a two-way issue. Yeah. There's Ina? No, she's had one.
Well, I did have a question. She had her hand up. Okay. I just wanted you to ask if you could share your short-term and long-term goals of the Tracy.
For the Tracy Center? Short term is to make sure we have adequate staffing to be able to do what the board expects us to do. Tracy has done well. It's not doing well in the daytime. And what we need to do at Tracy is to make sure that the people in Tracy have the confidence that we are going to provide the same level of services and programs as we do on this campus. And so the short term is to make sure that we are sending that message in the both what we schedule in Tracy and how we do that. So people have asked me before the issue of productivity. Tracy is not going to be as productive as the rest of the campus while it's starting out. It will be in the long run, but in order for it to grow, we can't expect it to be at 19.52 FTE yet. And in order to complement it, we'll have to improve our distance ed and some of the other things, and we will have to borrow in order to make it happen. The long run is no different than what the board has already determined for Tracy, and that it become a comprehensive community college by the year 2025. And in order to do that, we have a lot of steps along the way that we have to be benchmarked by. I had a conversation at noon with the chancellor regarding Tracy, and the frustration with Tracy is that there are so many partners in it that things just don't move at the rate that we would like it to move. For example, if the government decides that they have to mitigate any of the problems that are environmentally induced rather than us being able to do that in our partnership, we may have a delay that we weren't expecting. I've unfortunately worked with the government on 2 other environmental impacts when they wanted to carry through. Since they messed it up, they like to clean it up. And we really appreciate that. But I suspect that Tracy will become on the bottom of the list of all the air bases, the naval bases, and the Army bases that have been closed that also have cleanup issues. And I'm not sure that this will ever come to the priority list that we'd like to have it in the AGS in Washington in order to get it done on a timely basis. So I'm hoping they let us do it, or our partners or the city do it, so we don't have another delay. So the first goal is to make sure that we get moving on it. The Tracy Center is a wonderful opportunity. The Learning Center concept is great. Now let me talk a little bit about math. It's a math and science center, and I think that makes wonderful PR, but not everybody in Tracy needs just math, science. There also will be need for developmental education and some of the other issues as well. And we will develop along the lines of a comprehensive community college, at the same time meeting those needs. What I do like best about that plan, though, is that it does have the private sector partnership in terms of making it happen. And what's interesting about working in government is that we know that we don't move as fast as the private world wants us to move. By having them as one of the partners, I suspect we'll move a little faster than government wants to move. And that's fun for me. Other questions? Yes.
Dr. Gould, I had a visual picture of you heading towards Shima to get to Hope.
Yeah, I've done that. I've gone backwards.
And you're very
Right.
And one of the things that is vital and that I've long believed is that a good student starts with an informed student, one that has information about what they want to do, where they want to go, and how they want to get there. And that starts with orientation right off the bat. Is there, or will there be, a program to make orientation an institution-wide program, process, so that the students that start off new here at Delta know how to get to Shima or to Holt or to Gannett for that matter?
Well, let me address that from a personal point of view. That's something that the college is going to collectively have to decide, but all the research that I've done along these lines is that an orientation program, well done, students tend not to like orientation programs, but well done orientation programs that are either a week in length or semester long tend to make the difference in retention in the lives of students. And you know, all the freshman class experience research and everything else that is out there says that the longer you have an orientation program that deals with all of the issues, including how to get around campus, but more importantly, what is college life all about? You know, what we fail to realize is about 70% of our students don't have any clue what this world of higher education is about. But we don't give them the tools on how to not only navigate the grounds, but navigate the process of a successful conclusion. And there still aren't a lot of people who want to go up and say, you know, I don't know what this whole thing general education means. One of the questions today was, why do we have to do general education? Seems to me that we need to answer those in an orientation program as to why general education, why a well-rounded human being who could be a good critical thinker and understand and appreciate our society and the arts of our world, why we have to do those things in order to advance society and our economy better. But that comes with, my personal belief is, none of us in California do orientation right. It needs to be part of the very substance of what we do, and it needs to be spread across all disciplines and all faculty. I took my orientation in college from an economist, not from a counselor or anyone else. Everyone participated in orienting us to college, and I still remember to this day the scariest thing he said. I was sitting in the middle of two of my friends, and he said, look to your left and look to your right. He said, 2 of you won't be here in 4 years. And the first thing I did is look at them, and I said, I am. I'm going to be here. And that's one of the motivating things. Happened in my first 2 weeks on a college campus. It's important that we do that well. Not only is it important that we orient students, though, signage you have to remember what happens to students in community colleges. Studies show that reentry women who are taking a risk in life will drive through the parking lot 3 times before they even get out of their car to go and ask a question. Then if they do that and they go to our campus, and we do have one yellow sign on one side of the campus that shows where admissions is, but if they don't know where they're going, they're going to turn around and walk back out. So we need to say to the guests of our institution, or those who are inquiring, you're welcome to come and ask questions. And then what else do we do here? We have every one of our services spread throughout the campus. And so if you get to admissions and records in the first place, and then you ask for a reentry program or to see a counselor, you can get lost in finding where they are. Directions are great. You go around the corner, out through the quad, across, up the stairs, and you can find the counseling office. That isn't user-friendly, and we need to be more user-friendly. Now, that's going to not be solved overnight, that part of it. That's going to be solved if we build a new library or something else that takes place of the center of campus, that it has a lot of things like my office that don't need to necessarily be in the center of campus. But the student services do, and we need to be more student-friendly. And John and his staff are working on those issues. We're doing everything we can to come up with within our environment now to make it more friendly. But not only for the students, but for people who come and visit. I could go on that one for a long time, so I better not. I told my staff that I'd watch time. Other questions? Did you have another question?
You were mentioning trust, and yes, it's true, you can't bring your baggage from the past into a current relationship, no matter what size the group or the relationship. But you're saying we're your players, but I'm getting and you're the team leader, but I'm getting the impression it's almost like you have 8 children, and the first 2 that are closest to you are, because you say so, are getting I don't discredit that they don't deserve the salary or that they don't deserve the increase, but I just feel like in all fairness, it should be at the same time as everyone else. That it should be assessed as a group or as a whole, that there shouldn't be any preferential treatment, like you said, because you're the president. Well, I don't think that builds trust. That's like priority or rank has its privileges per se, and so we're not quite as important to you as you say we are.
Well, I think that, well, I'll say it, that's really unfair to me. I don't know that I've done anything to any one of you to earn that type of unfairness. Well, let me finish. I understand what you're saying about the perception of that issue, but I have more control over those issues. There's another way to look at that perception, is if he's doing it for that, is he also interested in us? And maybe he is. All the rest of his behaviors have shown that. And if you would take the time, and I know your leadership have, to study what I've done at other institutions, you would see that the perceptions you're getting from this one are simply not the case in my background. And so I would hope that you would do that. So to be fair with me, you need to look at what my past stands for as well. I have not ever let down people who work for me in terms of their well-being within the limitations of the resources that we have. And I won't start at Delta College doing that. And I don't have any problem saying that. But before you criticize me, look at me. Find out about me.
Not criticizing, like waiting and seeing, because it wounds from the past. Like, anytime you go into a relationship, it's not that one has to carry the baggage of the other, or prove themselves to the other. It's just you wait and see before you build that bond. And
Well, don't let me forget either. I mean, don't let it go by. But I do want to say that look at it. I've always said that. Don't believe the words I say, and I'll continue to say it. Look at what we do. I could also say that we wouldn't be here at this moment in time with an agreement going forward to the board if both the administration and I hadn't agreed that we needed to get there. We would still be talking about what we haven't settled, not what we are settling. And I think that you need to also look at what is happening now. These things, we don't fix everything in our past. I think I did this speech at the Chavez thing. I'm not proud of everything my family did in its past, nor am I proud of everything that we have done in administration with people. But we can fix them if we believe in each other and work together. But if you sit and wait for me and I don't hear from you or see that on the other side, I too will have my thoughts and ideas about right and wrong and about appreciation and non-appreciation. And if it's all about you and not about the students, you will hear that I have some problems with that. Because what we're here for are the students. And they're the first of my priorities. And then I've said this, I don't know how many times, but I'll say it again, then the employees of the institution and those of us who work with the institution are the second first. But it does start with the students. And, I don't expect you to do anything but watch. But I do expect you, too, to be part of that solution. One of the ways that we can really convince one another, and particularly convince the board, who represents the community, is to always stretch ourselves to serve the students better. Not to sit and wait. Not to wait and see. But to stretch ourselves to make sure that their experience is absolutely the finest they could have. And until that happens, those people who have to make the decisions and tell me their direction are never going to be convinced that we're all giving our best. And they have to make the decisions based on that. And when I could go in and say that everyone in this family has given all, I could take any request to them within a balanced budget and make sure that happens. But until that happens, until all of you look in your own backyard for those who aren't doing that, we aren't going to get there. It has to be a collective we. And we all have to be part of that. And I've never seen it work any other way. And while you wait back and watch what I do, please make sure that you don't wait back and serve the students in the most effective way. Because when you do that, it only takes one of those stories to reach my board. Even more importantly, it only takes one of those stories to reach the legislature to stop funding for our college and all the others. So make sure, whatever you do, that you give your most to them, so that when I can go forward with really believing in everything that we do. And, don't wait for me. I'll do my part in doing that. but I need to have you do yours. And that's all I could ask of you. And when you do that, I also want you to have fun, though, by the way. I do think that there are times that you got to forget about the institution and the problems it creates. There are many times that I, too, have to escape, that as much fun as it is sometimes is that there are degrees of fun, and that you, too, have to have a life, and I hope that you put your priorities in your life first on your family and on your friends and on yourselves, because unless you have a healthy life, you won't feel good about working with those students either. I do believe that. Yeah, another question here, and we've got about 2 minutes.
John DeVille, biology.
Hi, John.
I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about taking some of the archaic forms that we must have 8 million copies of and scrapping them in terms of being able to do things online more efficiently.
Well, the one thing, you are persistent about this question. John has asked this via email to me and to others, and the answer, and Jim has been very good at carrying that message forward to me and to Lee and others. The answer is yes. We will get rid of those in time. Unfortunately, if I had all the staff I could use in MIS, we would be there today. But you're right, we don't have to continue to do things that way. But what we have to do is both have the tools to do it and then train the staff effectively to use those tools when they're there. And I'm not sure that we're there campus-wide yet. I'm just really glad that you're there, and don't ever stop pushing that agenda, because I really believe we need to be there. Yeah. Jo-
Related question, you mentioned distance teaching and also professional development. I'm fairly new here. I was very excited when I came, and we have wonderful computers, we have opportunities to teach our PowerPoint system 2000, but unfortunately we do not have enough people to train faculty members to become proficient on the computer. Do you have any thoughts about maybe hiring somebody or incorporating training people to use the computer in a better fashion, for distance teaching, PowerPoint, etc.?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I have a history of creating a faculty development center for computers, and at my first institution, where we did have those staff who progressed with both as staff development coordinator, but then we had release time to of one of our biologists, John, to help everybody learn how to use the PowerPoint and move into the distance education world, et cetera. Yes, I have lots of thoughts about it. I think that we need to begin doing that. You have to remember, though, we did just come out of a deficit budget situation, and we have recaptured all of our past problems that way, and the future looks really bright, but we did have a dip. And now I think that we can get to the point where we've reversed that dip and can move back up, actually move forward to the past, because 3 years ago we were in better shape financially than we are today. But I think that we've passed our drop in enrollment and the impact, and now we can begin looking at what we can do for the future. And we're there. And we're going to have to look at all of these things in a priority list of what we can do, because we can't capture them all overnight, but that's one that I would like to see right away. One of the items in the Chancellor's budget is an $80 million pool of resources for human resources, and it's been approved by both the Assembly and the Senate. It's not necessarily going to be blessed by the governor, and that's where the hard sell is right now. But in that pool, 60% is supposed to be used on part-time. Well, one of the things we know already is that our part-time salaries are way above most salaries in the state. We need to improve their benefits and some of the other things. But we may be able to use some more of those resources for staff and faculty development than other districts can. If we can, and we could also address some of the other issues that were raised in terms of people's salaries, we will do those things as well. But it's all about money. I've always said this job is the easiest job in the world if we didn't have to worry about money. And those resources, and it's an evil that I can't get around. If I could bless it, we wouldn't have the friction over these issues that we have today, and we would do all of it right. But it is about money, and it is about the bottom line, and we are given only so many resources to do our job, and you all know the story. We are the lowest paid community college system in the United States, and we're far below not only the average, but the next lowest. And as a result, we have to do more with less, and it's not fun. I would like to someday be able to say we're not the bottom. I would like to say we're at least at the average or better. And when we get there, we can do a lot more, and that's That's what one of these goals for me, to be involved in those influencing moments that you get during good budget times with legislatures to do more. Their ears close real quickly as soon as the coffers get raided too far, but when they're open, it's time to take advantage of it. And they're open right now. So we'll do that. Well, thank you. The time is up. I do appreciate your time, and just as I was challenged earlier, watch the behaviors, not the words, and see what we come up with. Thank you for your time, and good luck to all of you.